Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Emmett Audio. I'm recording this while walking along Roaring Brook Road, which is the road between the school and the dirt road that goes up and over the ridge to our house. And this is maybe the most beautiful road in town in terms of rolling hills. There's two big farms that split up the valley, and it's just beautiful. It's a patchwork of hay fields and pasture and cornfields, and at this point the corn has been harvested, and I can see that some of the cornfields have had manure spread and have presumably been harrowed in and had winter rye sowed to form a cover crop, and others look like they're still waiting for that to happen. It's a beautiful day as well. Sunny, cool, breezy. The sun is warm, but the breeze is cool, and it's just feels crisp. So I'm sweating, but it's evaporating almost as fast as I'm sweating. Had a wonderful conversation yesterday with my best friend Javon, who is a painter, and we often talk about our work and about sort of what's going on professionally, because frankly, even though we work in different mediums, we understand each other more so than most of our peers and most of our community, because we're sort of going through many of the same things and thinking many of the same things. And one of the things we talked about yesterday was how much our work is not actually for other people, and in particular how, you can't really control what other people take from your work, and to some extent you can shape what other people take from your work by articulating what it means to you, right? So when I write a post and I talk about what spoon carving means to me, that is informing people who see that about what it means to me, and maybe they bring some of that to it, but ultimately they're going to bring whatever to it that is in them to bring. And I don't really have a say in what that is for them. And to some extent, this is an inescapable conundrum of making anything, whether you consider it to be art or craft, which is that you can try to articulate what you're doing and to some degree shape people's sense of what it is that you're doing in that way. But ultimately, they're going to see in it what they see in it, and you can't force them to see in it what you see in it. And so ultimately, this can be quite frustrating unless you adopt a stance of doing the work for the work's sake, being on the journey for the sake of the journey, and doing it for yourself, for selfish reasons. Sometimes those selfish reasons are somebody's going to pay you for it and you want the money. Sometimes those selfish reasons have to do with you learning some skill. For instance, with the spoon blanks, for me, if it wasn't tied to getting to explore ideas and feeling like I'm serving these people's needs, which is a good feeling for me, and also quite importantly, feeling like I'm practicing this skill that especially when I started out, I felt very shaky about my axe work. It definitely felt like the thing that was sort of least in control. And it's much, much stronger now, right? I sort of have control of what I want to do because I leaned into it. And so there was a reason that was ultimately a selfish reason for why I did the work. And I think without it, if the only reason you're doing the work is for the money, that starts to feel pretty hollow. So you've got to want to do it for your own sake. or have a very strong reason why that has to do with supporting your family, for instance. That's probably perhaps the strongest reason. Otherwise, something quickly loses its meaning. So if, like me, you're trying to figure out a way to live your life so that you don't end up in that position, well, to some extent you can lean into the things like supporting your family, that bring meaning to your work. But you also need to figure out how to do work, where the nexus is, where the overlap is between doing the work in a way that other people want it, but also doing it in a way that selfishly sort of fulfills your own needs. And you need both, because if you do too much work that other people don't want, well, then it can be hard to continue, and then you can't keep playing the game. So if the goal is to keep playing the game and to keep getting to make the work, then it's, unless you unless you're playing an extremely long game or are independently wealthy and therefore can do the work you want regardless of how you need to use your time to earn money, or are just willing to completely reshape your life to have less money coming in. All of those are viable options, but even, once you can push all of those to the extremes, but you're still going to run up at some point against the idea of, you need to there needs to be enough, how to say this, what demand for your work lets you do is it lets you keep playing. And I don't know about you, but the goal for me is to get to keep playing. It's to get to keep doing the work. And so I'm very careful about what work I agree to do, because the work you agree to do is the work that you will get good at and the work that you will do more of. And and ultimately you have to be doing work and doing work in such a way that it has that meaning for you. Otherwise, you're going to feel resentful of it. And it will... hold on, I gotta put the dog leashes in the backpack. When I get to the dirt road, I can unleash them, which is awfully nice. Ooh, that wind is brisk. And I think, what can happen is there are times when you are more or less reminded of this rift between what you are getting out of the work and what other people are getting out of the work. And that can be demoralizing, especially if you think to yourself that you wish other people got, out of your work what you got out of your work. But one of the ways that I've dealt with this is by trying to get things out the door as soon as possible, and also not putting myself in a position where somebody can accept or reject my work in the moment. So for me, doing commissioned work, and I'll be curious, as I move more into an art space, I think this will not hold, but it's been very helpful for me mentally to do work where people order things, I do it, I post it, it's out the door, they're engaging with it. I don't have to sell anything to anybody, except in the sense that they see what I'm doing and want some of it. But I don't have to sort of see someone's acceptance or rejection or decision to buy a certain thing. And I also don't have work that's sitting around. And so what that does is it keeps me completely, well, not completely, but as focused as possible on the work at hand, and not thinking about selling it, and not thinking about all the work that came before and its imperfections. And I find that extremely helpful for my mental space. And I wonder if that helps me stay focused on the journey and not the ultimate outcome, and also focused on myself and not other people's response to what I'm doing. And as I start to spend some of my time exploring more sculptural work, that's going to necessarily change for that aspect of things, because it's going to need to be built up over time into a body of work, and I'm going to see how people respond to it, hopefully in real life, in the gallery. And so that's going to be an interesting lesson for me, because I've buffered myself in many ways against having to deal with this. But I guess my point is you can too, depending on how you set up your business arrangements. And there's a great deal to be said for doing so. Thanks for listening as always. Talk tomorrow.